After Tuesday's loss to the Toronto Raptors, the Sixers' direction for the rest of the season seems very clear to me. To lose a game in that fashion, under those circumstances, now where the Sixers are at, I think it is clearly time for them to look towards next season and start to begin the tank. I'm going to explain why that game really did it for me and a plan for the Sixers to move forward now with the rest of the season. Before we get into that, I kind of just want you all to sound off in the comment section right now. I know it's been a very, very frustrating season, and I'm sure we all have a lot of thoughts and a lot of feelings about the way this season has gone. So get down in the comments. How would you describe the way this season has gone? Whatever you've been feeling, whatever you've been thinking, put it into words for me right now in the comments section. Just vent on how the season has been so far. So again, that loss to Toronto for me on Tuesday night really put the nail in the coffin for the 76ers. And they're technically still in it. They're only a game and a half back of the Bulls out of that play-in spot. But to lose a game when you were fully healthy, you had your full trio of Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, and Joel Embiid. And the Raptors had Scotty Barnes, but no Brandon Ingram, no RJ Barrett, no Jakob Poeltl, and you still find a way to only score 103 points and lose that game down the stretch, with Joel Embiid passing up a potential game-winning three-point shot, trying to drive it inside, losing the ball, and that was it. To me, seeing how they played in that game in that fashion, that was the kiss of death for the 76ers this season. But it wasn't really all bad if you think of it in terms of the NBA lottery odds. When you take a look at the current lottery odds now, as of Wednesday, February 12th, before any NBA games are played today, Sixers currently at number 7 in the lottery odds, which is where they have been. But look at the teams right in front of them. The Nets at number 6, just one game worse than the 76ers or ahead of them in the lottery odds. And then the Raptors, after losing to Toronto, are now just 3.5 games ahead of you in the lottery odds. So all of a sudden, it's like, man, we thought the Sixers wouldn't really be able to lose this many games to get to the 6 or the 5 spot in the lottery odds, but the way they've been playing now, losing 4 games in a row, it really kind of is right there in front of them, and it is pretty important that they do get that number 6 seed if they want to keep their pick, because again, the Sixers' first-round pick this year, top 6 protected. So if they stay at the 7th worst record or the 7th best lottery odds you can see on the chart in front of you, they only have about a 32% chance to keep the pick. They get up to number 6, it's closer to 50-50, about 45.8. And again, they're only one game better than the Brooklyn Nets right now, who they actually play tonight. So by the end of Wednesday, they could be in that number 6 lottery odds, creeping up towards number 5. Now, talking about the Sixers tanking the rest of the year, they do have the 4th easiest remaining strength of schedule from games played throughout the rest of the season. So really after the All-Star break, the 4th easiest strength of schedule. So it's not going to be like they're playing all these great teams and super easy to lose all these games, but the way the Sixers have been playing, they can't even beat bad teams that they should beat when they're injured. I mean, you lose to Toronto without some of their best guys. You lose to the Milwaukee Bucks without Giannis. It's just like you can't beat bad teams, so it doesn't really matter who you're playing at this point. And I know the Sixers made some of these moves at the deadline, but what Daryl Morey had to say about this season and about some of these moves leads me to believe he might not be totally against tanking away this season. Here's what Morey had to say regarding the Sixers' expectations heading into the year. We have to be realistic. This has been a disappointing season, obviously. We had a plan going into this year. Those plans are really good until you get punched in the face, and we've really been punched in the face by injuries this year. And then at the deadline, after they made some of these trades, Morey held a press conference with the media. He was asked about the moves the Sixers made and sort of the direction he saw this team going in after those trades. And he said, well, our goal was to get younger, get more dynamic, both now and in the future. To me, when you're talking about the deadline, you say our goal was to get younger? That doesn't sound like someone who's going 100% all in on this current team. Bringing in Quentin Grimes, bringing in Jared Butler, sending out some older players like Caleb Martin, like Reggie Jackson. I get wanting to get younger this year, but that also speaks volumes to me about maybe Morey's planning a little more now for the future and preparing for a possible tank job here after the All-Star break. Now, the Sixers do decide to tank. There's a few things I think they need to do to ensure they get the best possible chance at keeping their top 6 protected pick. And I have 3 steps to a potential plan here to ensure that that does happen. Number 1, it's time. You just got to sit Joel Embiid down now for the rest of the season. And we talked about this a little bit on yesterday's show. Joel Embiid actually came out and said he thinks he might need surgery on that knee again in the offseason and a longer recovery process because it's been bothering him for over a year now. When he talked about his knee, there's not much to say. I think it's just when the answer is straightforward. When you got something that's inconsistent, some point we have to do something about it. We don't know what it is. We are looking into every option. We don't know what it is. That's what Joel Embiid said. They don't know what the issue is with his knee or exactly how to figure it out. So if you're in the position you are right now and you're the Sixers and Embiid really can only play a few games here or there, then all of a sudden he's out a week or two, why not just take the time to figure out what's actually going on with his knee, meet with even more doctors, get all the information you possibly can? Because if you don't get this figured out and you never find a way to fix what's going on with Joel Embiid's knee, then you're never going to have a chance because he's never going to be able to play consistently in 5-6 games in a row or in a playoff series in a best of 7, and then you're never going to have a chance. So use this time right now, get to these doctors, and find out a potential plan to get Joel Embiid healthy in the off season. So number 1, sit Joel Embiid down. Get him healthy for next year. Number 2, I would take this time to evaluate your new additions, specifically talking about Quentin Grimes and Jared Butler, who you acquired at the trade deadline. And Quentin Grimes, in his first 3 games with the Sixers, I like what I've seen from him. 12 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Hasn't been as efficient as he was in Dallas, particularly from the 3-point line. But, 3 games, very small sample size. To me, the eye test has told me that he's been very good for the Sixers team. And I know they haven't actually won a game since they traded for Quentin Grimes. But he will be a restricted free agent in the offseason. So you're going to have to make a decision whether you want to keep him or not. So I would give him a bunch of burn. And at just 24 years old, I think he can be a player that can stick around for quite a while. That shot should come around, but even despite the poor percentages, he's been good off the dribble, or at least he's shown an ability to shoot off the dribble. He's shown an ability to knock down, catch, and shoot threes. He's done a little bit more with the ball in his hands than I think I would have initially thought, and he's always been a hard-nosed defender. In fact, he might just be the Sixers' best perimeter defender at this very moment. And though it hasn't translated into winning basketball yet, I think he is the kind of player you'd want to keep around long term, so be sure to play him a lot and see if you want to keep him around moving into next season. And then Jared Butler, I've been pleasantly surprised with what I've seen from Jared Butler. When the Sixers traded Reggie Jackson away and brought Butler in, I said, the best game of the season for Jared Butler when he was with the Wizards actually came against the Sixers. Now in 2 games, 11 points, 3 rebounds, very, very efficient from the field, and especially in that game against Toronto, again, I know a very disappointing loss, he was actually pretty good attacking the basket. He was the Sixers' second leading scorer in that game, actually, behind Joel Embiid. So another younger player that, playing in Washington, hasn't really had the chance to develop fully with his skill set playing around some more talented players. So I think if you give Jared Butler now these backup 1 minutes, forget Kyle Lowry, you already sent off Reggie Jackson, let Jared Butler play, see what he can do. I actually like what I've seen from him, being able to shoot it, being able to get to the basket, attack the rim, some fancy finishes. He has been solid, so I'd like to see more from him. So again, get Quentin Grimes, get Jared Butler more minutes so you can see if you want to keep those guys that you brought in at the deadline. And then number 3, play the rest of the young guys. There's no excuse at this point to not let some of these young guys get minutes. When we saw them getting minutes, when Paul George, Joel Embiid were out, the Sixers were actually winning some more games and playing with more life, playing with more energy, running up and down the floor than they have been these last 4 games when guys like Ricky Council haven't been getting as many minutes. So 3 guys that I think absolutely have to see the floor, assuming that they're all healthy. Ricky Council has to be on the floor at all times. You signed him off of last year to an NBA standard contract, and his minutes have been somewhat inconsistent this year. I would like to see him, despite Paul George being back and bringing in some new guys, he has to be on the floor. Justin Edwards, you just signed him last week to a standard NBA contract, and he has been starting some games here and there, but also some inconsistent minutes. He needs to be on the floor in that rotation. And then Adem Bona, I think as well, he's been dealing with some injuries as of late, but if you can get him to be a long-term backup center behind Joel Embiid, you've really been trying to find a backup center for Embiid. Seems like every year of his career, you're cycling through a new backup center. If you can finally get someone who's young and upcoming that you can have around for a long time, find out if Adem Bona can be that guy and get those three guys in there. There are three guys that I think just don't need to see the floor anymore. Kyle Lowry, Eric Gordon, Andre Drummond, all older vets at this point who have all been dealing with injuries of their own. And if you're going to get these younger guys on the floor, what's the point of playing a guy like a Kyle Lowry? Great locker room presence, and of course, from Philadelphia, and we love him here in Philly, but I don't need to see Kyle Lowry getting minutes. Eric Gordon had a great stretch in January. I thought was getting that trade value up, didn't end up getting moved, so bought us a few wins, I guess, but I don't need to see him on the floor anymore with Quentin Grimes coming in, with Jared Butler coming in at that guard spot. And then Andre Drummond just hasn't really been very good this year, been dealing with a lot of injuries as well. As I mentioned, I would like to see Adem Bona get more minutes. So Andre Drummond, it was great to have you back, and another guy that's great and fun in the locker room, but just did not work out this season, unfortunately, with Philadelphia. And I already know some people are going to be in the comments section right now because I haven't mentioned Paul George's name yet when it comes to the plan the rest of the season. People are going to say, well, why not bench Paul George? He sucks. He's been awful. He's in this big contract. Let's just let him sit, bench him. Look, I don't think benching Paul George is really very realistic right now for the rest of the season, even if you do let Joel Embiid sit out the rest of the season, because the reality is right now, you are stuck with this Paul George contract, right? You're not going to be able to move off of Paul George in the offseason. So, in my opinion, the best thing for the Sixers to do moving forward is just to let him play, see if he can get healthy and regain some confidence, or at the very least, build more chemistry with guys like Tyrese Maxey and some of the other guys on this team, because he hasn't played very many games this year dealing with injury. And it's not like he's out there hooping, winning games for you anyways right now, so there's no really drawback to letting him be out there on the floor because he's not dropping 30 a game and going to win you games all the time. So, in my opinion, don't need to bench Paul George. Just see if there's any chance you can get him to play at least close to what he was last year, get him some more confidence moving into next season. At the end of the day, if you can do all these things that I laid out and put yourself in the best position to lose games, honestly, you give yourself a chance, the best chance possible, to keep your pick, that top 6 protected pick. Don't want to see it go into OKC. You develop the young guys, so maybe you have some more NBA-ready rotation level, maybe even playoff rotation level players heading into next season. And if you do land that top 6 pick and you're able to use it on a top prospect, you can keep that window for contention open into the future instead of relying on, Paul George and Joel Embiid to keep it going as we move forward here. Then you get that 6 overall pick. Maybe you jump up to 1 and get Cooper Flagg. I don't know. That'd be pretty scary here in Philadelphia. Tyrese Maxey. You get Jared McCain back from injury, Justin Edwards, Ricky Council, Quentin Grimes, some of these younger guys, and you can at least keep that window open at least a little bit and think about that post-Joel Embiid era. And the Sixers need to get back to their winning ways. They could probably take some notes from the Philadelphia Eagles, man. Of course, the Eagles, as you all are very well aware, Super Bowl 59 champions. That's an organization who knows how to run things and how to get things done and develop players and build talent and make moves. The Sixers clearly do not. So if you want to support and show out and get some merch for this Eagles Super Bowl gear, I already ordered myself a few things, especially that hat that we just showed you. That thing is clean. Go to chatsports.com/EaglesSB. They have anything you can imagine. Of course, apparel, shirts, hoodies, hats, shorts, but tons of memorabilia as well. Some of it is limited, limited to 500 of an item or something like that. So be sure, do not wait. Go to chatsports.com/EaglesSB to get your Eagles Super Bowl merch. Now I'll have that link in the comment section and in the description of today's video. Be sure to subscribe here to the channel. If the Sixers do decide to tank a little bit, start losing games, and they're looking forward toward the offseason, well, we'll still have you covered here on the show with draft talk, looking towards offseason moves. We don't get to talk a lot about, mock drafts and draft prospects and things like that here on the show over the last few years, because the Sixers are usually fighting for a playoff spot. But no matter what the coverage is, we will have it here on the show. We just surpassed 21,000 subscribers, so be sure to join the family. And also, if you're looking for more Sixers content, be sure to throw me a follow on X at Jake Chipper. Always tweeting about the Sixers. Anytime we post a new video, it goes up on my Twitter, so you can be the first to know when we get new videos here on 76ers Now.